Back to the Data Protection Diaries. Welcome back to the vlog. If you are new to the channel, my name is Richard Marigold. I'm a data protection practitioner. I've been a DPO in and around the last 10 years. I've been working in information governance and data protection for the last 15 years. I also own a consultancy which specializes in data protection and cybersecurity. This channel looks at all things data protection related. The clue is in the name. If that's what interests you, please do make sure that you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and we will continue to bring as much content as we possibly can. You have to forgive the fact that I'm out walking. It's one of the only times I can find to make this kind of content. But let me know if there's anything in particular that you'd like us to talk about. Let's get on with what we want to do today. If you are interested in data protection, you will no doubt know that today is the 5th birthday of the GDPR. So 5 years ago today, the GDPR came into force and arguably changed the face of data protection across Europe. Some would even say across the world. The changes have been far wide, far reaching. And for me personally, I think we've seen some really good changes, both in cultural stances of organisations and the way businesses approach data protection. And I think we've also seen a good change in mindset from countries, from regulators, and from the ways in which those organisations and those countries implement the law into their businesses. I think there is a lot more to come. I think there is a lot more still to do. And in this video, what I really want to talk about is what you can do over the next 5 years. So for the next 5 years, to get you to the 10th anniversary of the GDPR, what you can do to improve compliance within your organisation. What is the next 5 years going to look like, and what things can you do to help you improve both your organisation's compliance, but also your career opportunities, and to build out your experience within data protection? So for many organisations, they probably haven't looked at the policies that were originally written 5 years ago. Most companies didn't even write their policies 5 years ago, but they may have started to think, okay, this is something that we need to do. A good policy review should be carried out ideally, I would say probably every 2 years, possibly even every 3 years. That policy review should be looking at whether or not the policy still stands. Do those controls still exist? Do you still do things a certain way? What procedures have you got in place? Have those procedures changed? Have you introduced new systems, new technologies, or new processes? Do the people that were responsible for helping deliver those processes and those procedures still exist within the business? Some people will find that during COVID, teams got smaller, teams changed, the way of working has changed. Have your policies been updated to reflect that? So that's the first thing. The next thing you're going to spend some time on is your ROPA, so your record of processing activity. Now, your record of processing activity is a key part of your compliance framework. It demonstrates to the business, it demonstrates to the regulator where information is, what it's being processed for, how you store it, and potentially, depending on how far you want to go, what the risks are associated with that. Now, for most organisations, and certainly for most of the people that we look after, ROPAs are done and then kind of popped in a folder and left alone. Very much the same with policies. Obviously, ROPAs are going to change over time. Systems are going to change. Processes are going to change. You're going to onboard new clients. You're going to offboard things. You may change the way in which you store information within your business. That means that your ROPA needs to be updated. Now, why do I say this is part of a 5-year plan? Well, updating your ROPA can take a lot of time and a lot of effort. You're going to need a lot of involvement from the business. People are going to need to understand what you're doing and what information you have and where it is. Trying to do it quickly is not always going to work, but doing it continually over a longer period, for instance over the next 5 years, makes it a lot easier to manage and is going to give you a lot more benefit for your business. I'm presuming this is starting to sound like quite a lot of work. We've got quite a lot to do. We already need to review policies and we've got to start reviewing our ROPA. Now that can mean only one thing. We're going to need resources. We're going to need people. Now, For most organisations, and certainly for smaller organisations, resource is always a sticky subject. Have we got the money? Are we going to get any benefit from it? How much is it going to cost to bring in people to do this? So the first thing you're going to want to do there is stop looking outside of the business and start looking at the resource that you have in the business. Who can you use? Can you find key stakeholders from within the department and from within your business? Can those people help you review policies? Can they tell you what happens within their department? Can they give you updates? Can they support you with the ROPA? Can they take you through the processing that happens in their department? If they can, and they're keen and they're willing, maybe we could start making them champions. Maybe we could get them to be data protection champions. Having those kind of allies and building up those relationships over the next few years is going to be absolutely integral to ensuring that your compliance framework continues to grow, continues to develop, and you continue to reduce the risks within your organisation. So we're starting to create a compliance framework. We're starting to understand where we are against the original controls that we put in place 5 years ago. Over the next 5 years, we're going to be able to assess how that has gone. So if we're going to make these changes today, how do we know if those changes have been effective? How do we demonstrate to the business that we've improved our compliance? And this is where we're going to start looking at metrics. So metrics are a really important key factor when you're building out your next 5 years worth of compliance. How many incidents have we had? What did they relate to? Were they a particular department? Were they a particular process issue? Was it to do with sending information to the wrong place? Was it a technical problem? How have we fixed that? How often did it reoccur? How many SARs do we have? How quickly do we respond to those? How effective is our SAR process? Are we responding in an orderly fashion? Do we provide all the information? Can we do it quick enough? Over the next 3, 4, 5 years, totting up those stats, reviewing them on an annual basis, going back, looking at the previous year, looking for improvements, is again a fantastic way to demonstrate your compliance over the next 5 years and beyond, while also being able to show continual improvement, which helps when you want to go back to the board, when you want to go back to senior management, potentially ask for more money, ask for resources. It helps you to be able to demonstrate that compliance is working, compliance is a continual improvement process, and things are getting better within your organisation. And the final thing you're going to want to work on over the next 5 years, and this is definitely a 5-year plan, is the culture of your organisation. So you've reviewed policies, you've updated your ROPA, you've identified your champions, you're starting to understand how these controls are working within your business. But how do you embed that within the business? And this is something that you can't rush. It's gonna take time, it's gonna take effort. You have to get buy-in from the business. You have to get buy-in from senior management. You have to get buy-in from the teams around the business. Spending your time getting to know the business, getting to know the departments, demonstrating value and added benefit from the work that you're doing, training people, continual awareness, memos, awareness campaigns, demonstrating that compliance to data protection can also be a benefit, not just a blocker. Being able to improve processes, helping people out of a hole is all part of how you're going to improve the culture. We always say that compliance is a journey, not a destination, and you've got the next 5 years to demonstrate how you're going to make that work and how you can demonstrate that within the business and improve general compliance and the compliance culture. 5 years is a really long time. When you look at how far organisations have come in the last 5 years since the GDPR came into enforcement, you can start to see the changes that can be made. What's really, really important for me is for you to understand that compliance is a journey. It's not a destination. It's an ongoing, living, breathing thing. It is going to take time. It is going to take effort. It is going to take investment. Now, sometimes you're not always going to get that money. Sometimes you're not going to get cash investment, but you can get the business invested in different ways. You can get them to be on your side. And that's what's really important when you're going to drive this culture over the next 5 years. For many of you, you may not even be in your business in 5 years, but the legacy that you build and you leave today will be there for somebody else to pick up in the future. So don't be disheartened. Take the next 5 years, create that long-term plan, and start to look at the ways that you can get long-term benefit. And maybe when we come back and celebrate 10 years from the GDPR, we'll have even more to talk about. As always, thank you very, very much for watching. If you do find this content useful, this content interesting, please do make sure that you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and we look very much forward to catching up with you again in the future. Thanks very much.